Hello, my name is Caitlin Brodie. Today I'll be talking about my leadership identity. So, after reading the article on thinking styles, the style that most closely describes me is concrete sequential. What I recognized most in myself was that I like order and predictability. I do best in a structured environment with clear expectations, and I like to set schedules. I do things in a very deliberate way, like outlines, and I have the need to know what's expected before I begin. This implication may have for my leadership would be that when it comes to paperwork and district mandates, that would be a strength. But other people who are teaching and not as organized or struggle in that area would give me some anxiety and stress me out, and therefore I would just need to be more flexible. Additionally, as a leader, I would need to be more empathetic and put other people's needs before my own. So, after taking the conflict response survey, I identified my conflict response styles as competing, problem solving, and avoiding. All scored the same at a 7. It's interesting looking at the 4 quadrants as they were all at different corners of that graph. So there's not really an overlap. This implication may have for my leadership would be that I'm really results driven, but I need to focus more on the people aspect and focus less on my own needs. Being a teacher right now and not in a leadership role per se, it's hard to move towards what other people need, and so all three kind of are like tied together, and depending on the situation, I've seen myself be all three over the years, both professional and social situations. With avoiding problems, they will just fester and grow and get worse, and then competing create more conflicts which should be avoided. Where problem solving seems to have a way for all people to work together, and that's the style I need to work on and grow and kind of develop as a teacher. So here's what I know about myself in response to the leadership challenge and self-knowledge questions. So my background have like teachers and parents and mentors in college have really influenced my concept of what leadership is. I believe that with teachers, there's a lot of structure and order, and they need to be done a certain way. That's kind of how my schooling was. Um, for personal with my parents, my father owns his own business, and he's very, this is how things are, this is how things should be done, and he does things to benefit the client, but also he really wants to make sure that himself and his employees are taken care of. So that's kind of where my to the point comes in. Um, in college, one of my mentors, he was a professor of mine, and I also worked under him, and he ran the department, and he was very much that the people that worked under him, the students, and even his colleagues, they had a say in what was to be done. If we had feedback, he would take that. So, and he wasn't very detail oriented. He was very much go with the flow, very like feely, and that was something that I put into my classroom is understanding others, go with the flow, and it's something I'm working on. But it was kind of the opposite of my dad being very structured and my teachers being very structured. So that's kind of combined to make the leadership style I have today. An accomplishment of mine that was really exciting for me was when I got one of my photos into the San Javier into a calendar. That was really exciting. And one of my special skills, besides organization, which comes up a lot, would be photography. I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it gives me kind of an outlet to be creative, which is not something that I have very often. An aspect of myself that I would like to see grow and improve would be my compromising and flexibility. I think that's something that over time has really, really changed, because it used to be this is how things are, this is how it has to be. And that's kind of gotten better, whereas now it's, well, that can change. We'll move that to later, or don't even, don't stress out about it. But I think that's something that I can get better at. I'm a type A gold personality, so I can frequently get stuck in my ways if things aren't done exactly how I envisioned them. People who know me well would really describe me as hardworking, caring, and a very driven person. I care deeply about the people in my life, but I'm also very much like, that's my goal, that's what I'm going to achieve. A goal something I aspire to do one day would be to be someone who can mentor others and be someone that people turn to for support for their needs. That hasn't really been something that's non-existent in my life right now, but I would like to be able to be more of a mentor and give people more options and more resources. My stress triggers. So, my stress triggers are definitely things that are contradicting, a lack of information, a lack of support. When I feel unsupported and I feel like people are giving me two different types of information, that gives me stress. But to handle that, I like to work out, I talk out with my family, and I, kind of just take deep breaths and internalize it. Um, that kind of falls into the handling ambiguity and uncertainty. So, ambiguity and uncertainty, being the type of person I am, they are things that give me a sense of stress because I like to know what's happening. I like to know what's going to happen and in the future happen. Um, and what I've noticed of myself is in the first few moments, I truly panic. I will start to panic. I will stress out. I will just be like, oh my gosh, the world's ending. And then as the day goes on, I'll start internalizing it and really processing the information. And, a week later, I'll think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was really stressful. But as time goes on, I can remind myself that it will be okay and things happen and you have to kind of just go with the flow. A time when I was wrong was 2 years ago. My teaching partner and I, we were very, very different. She's very artsy. She's very go with the flow. Um, she's not organized. Her classroom is very colorful, all over the place, and we just did not mix. And I, being a newer teacher, I was very much like, oh my gosh, what's going on? These kids are not going to get what they need. And I felt that I was doing all the work and I wasn't being supported by her. But as the years have gone on, we have really grown to work together. She now teaches second, I teach third, and we're bouncing ideas off each other. And she's, giving me more ways to integrate art. I'm giving her more ways to organize her day. And it's been a chance for us to really play on our strengths. And having her students in second grade, and they moved up to third with me, they were extremely successful students. They're reading on grade level, they know their content, and that was something that I had to realize that her teaching style, while different from mine, is still extremely effective. So that was when that was very different. How do I motivate myself? I motivate myself by setting goals. I have, daily goals, weekly goals, long-term goals. So, for yearbook, I do yearbook, and this year, end of the week, I have to have all the portrait pages done for our school, and that's my weekly goal. My monthly goal is to have my Unit 5 plans for our curriculum done. And then my long-term goal is to achieve this master's degree in order to eventually, in the future, after teaching other grade levels, be a principal or an assistant principal. So my grades or my goals kind of drive me to complete them. The sense of completing a checklist or a goal is extremely motivating to me. An example of resiliency would be our new reading curriculum. It's extremely rigorous. Many of the teachers are struggling with it. But some teachers have just kind of given up and said, I'm just going to teach it. It's a script. I'll read it. I've really dove into what is it asking of me? What spirals? How can I change it? Which is very different for me. I normally am very much, this is a checklist, this is what we're doing. But this curriculum has made me kind of think to myself, this is hard for me. It's hard for the kids. How can I push through and make it work for the children and not only them, but myself? And that's been really great because I've been able to work through planning a week, planning a unit, and assisting other teachers in analyzing what works and what's not working and moving things around that should be out of order and making those adjustments. Some valuable feedback I received was actually today. I had my post-observation conference with my principal, and some feedback from her was to slow down. I do things quickly. I have my checklist. I get it done. and I don't always enjoy the moment. And when she said that, it was very true. Because I don't always stop. I say, this is day one, this is day two, this is day three, I have to get these things done. But instead of sitting down and saying, hey, let's really dive into this, let's really, really understand, let's have fun. And it's something I always do, and I'm not great at. And she saw in that snippet of 1 hour as it was very much, let's get it done, let's move, let's move, let's move. While it was a successful lesson, she said that there were things that I could have stopped and let it organically grow. So that's something I'm going to work on. And it was valuable for me because I do set goals for myself. I do set high expectations for myself. And I feel I graduated high school early. I graduated college, my undergrad early. I got my master's, my first master's, a year out of college, working on my second one. And looking back, there are things that I'm like, I wish I spent more time in college. I wish I had more of experiences. I wasn't so worried about school. And that's something that's valuable, slowing down. So, planning, being engaged, planning a wedding, it's something that I want to slow down. I want to enjoy these students. I want to enjoy this year, enjoy what I'm doing. Because I don't get it back. And that was valuable for me. How easy, so for boundaries, at first it was really hard. At first, when I started teaching, I got to school at 6:30. I didn't leave until 6:30, and I had to get everything on my checklist done. And I went home, I did my master's homework, and I had to be done the day, like, it had to be done a week before. Assignment was submitted, I started my next one. And I didn't always give time for myself. I wasn't healthy, I wasn't taking care of myself, I didn't spend so much time with my family. And that was, year one. In year two now, or year four, well, in year four, I'm very much, I get there at 7:30, I leave at 3. Those are my set times. I leave when I'm supposed to, and if it's not done, it's not done. I'll get to it. There'll always be something more to do. So that's been my boundaries. I don't bring schoolwork home. If I can't grade it that day, I'll grade it the next day. And I'm very much so emergencies only at home, and I don't check my work email. I don't have it. And so I've been giving myself permission to walk away. The most valuable aspect of myself and leadership I have learned is that I need to focus on the big picture and focus on others. Because it's not just me, it's the whole team. So something that was surprising, that while I think that I work with a team, I do really worry about myself. So that needs to kind of be something I focus on, and I will focus on. Something reaffirming for me is that I do have strong qualities that are, good for a leader. They just need to be added to others. So it's interesting to dive deep into my leadership qualities and what I look for, and see like what is happening in the leadership environment I am in and what I would like, and talking with other teachers at my site at the feeling we're having about culture and community, what needs to be changed and what needs to be added. So, and what is working. So that's kind of something that has really helped me grow this week and given me a chance to think about what can I do. This assignment was very positive, especially during my post-observation conference and my observation. It gave me a chance to really reflect on myself as a teacher and as a member of our school community. So, all right, thank you. Have a good day.